Welcome! This video is for the students enrolled in the CAP 7005E Handling of Scientific and Technical Information workshop. In this video, we will show you how to do a first search in Compendex using the expert mode. Let's start by accessing Compendex. So at the bottom left of the library homepage, we have search tools, and we have a link to the A to Z databases list. From there, we'll click on C for Compendex, and here we have our database. As you can see from the lock icon, you need to install the proxy on your computer to access the database from home. Here's a reminder of the subject of our search strategy. It's numerical simulation of ice accretion on airfoils, which we've divided in three concepts. Firstly, everything that has to do with airfoils is together in one concept. Our second concept is ice accretion, so it's everything that has to do with ice. And our third concept is everything related to numerical simulation. And we arrive on the Engineering Village platform, which contains three databases: Compendex, InSpec, and Novel. First thing we need to do is go to the Expert Search field. So we are now in Quick Search, which is a more basic type of search. Let's click on Search and go to Expert. And from there, we'll be able to customize our query a little bit more. Next, there's a few parameters that we need to set up before we start querying a database. The first element we need to set up is the database that we will be querying. So by default, often you'll find all of the databases checked. We suggest querying one database at a time, for example, Compendex. The reason for that is that the platform doesn't deal well with duplicate record results. So in order to have a good idea of how many results you actually retrieve in a database, it's better to use one database at a time. The next element we need to set up is the date. You can choose whatever date works for your subject and your field of study. In general, we suggest about 10 years of research. Next, we have to set up the sorting order that our results will be in. By default, the platform will suggest a relevance sorting order. They also offer a date sorting order. We suggest using the date sorting order, and the reason for that is that it's going to be very difficult to assess the relevance of all of your results in your query if you choose the relevance sorting order. An algorithm is going to put all of the most relevant references in the beginning, in the first pages of your results. And when you look through those pages, you will be led to believe that your search is better performing because all the pertinent results are in the beginning of your pages. So what we suggest you do instead is you sort by date. That way, the pertinence of the results are a little bit more random, and you'll have a better sample of how many results are actually pertinent in the first few pages of your results. The next element to set up is the auto-stemming. So this is a feature of the Engineering Village platform in which your keywords will be stemmed, and the database will retrieve all of the different endings of words for that stemmed word. And the issue with this is that sometimes it will give you results that are not actually pertinent because it's done automatically. Instead, we've shown you how to use a truncation, and that does about the same thing, but you conserve your control over which words will be stemmed and which ones will not. So we suggest that you just make sure that the auto stemming is indeed turned off, and that means that there's a little orange icon right there. So we're all set up to start querying the database. Now you want to check that all those parameters are still set up every time you start a new search, because the database will often reinitialize the parameters. You just want to check that everything's still okay every time you start a new search. Now we will start building our query. We will add one concept at a time, each time checking the number of results, and we'll also check if we see a syntax error. So let's go ahead and add our first concept, which is everything to do with airfoils. Now let's search to see how many results we retrieve with our first concept. We get more than 400,000 results, which means we can add our second concept. So on the same line, we'll add and we'll add our second concept, which is everything to do with ice. Let's go ahead and search again. So we retrieve about 7,000 results, which is still a quite high number of results. So we can add our third concept. Our last concept is everything to do with numerical simulation. And let's search again. So we see that we never got any syntax errors, and doing it concept by concept, you'll know exactly in which section you have a syntax error. So we get about 4,000 results, which is still quite high, and this means that our work is not finished. We still have to analyze the results, and ultimately we will optimize our strategy. Optimization will be shown in a next video. Now, one functionality that we should look at now is the search history. This is right on top of the screen here. We can click on View All Results, and this is very useful to compare the different tests that you may have done in the database. So you'll see all of your different queries are listed here, and if you wish, you can go back to a previous query by clicking on it. If you have any questions, you can contact the reference service either in person or virtually. You can also contact your teaching librarian.